Can you believe I recorded a full episode? Actually, I did a full episode and I was not recording. So we're gonna do this again. Hi, hello, hi, friends and family. This is Adelaide Mabusela. Happy New Year to you, and thank you so much for connecting to this episode. Like I said, we will be discussing debt review and alternatives to debt review. I hope you are ready. Let me make my disclaimers already in the beginning. I am not a financial advisor. Please do make sure that you contact your financial advisor for any financial information that you need. Neither am I a debt review counselor yet. So please, if you have a debt review counselor, make sure that you contact them. Contact. Make sure you contact them for any or further information. Otherwise, please do feel free to DM me or send me a comment in the comment section. I hope that you have subscribed, you have liked, and you have shared, because we're going to have a great time today. All right. So I don't know if you've noticed, but there's been such a rise, and maybe these days it's less than it before, because I saw last year that there were so many ads, especially on Instagram, around debt review. And what was more alarming for me was the fact that now they were using celebrities to advertise debt review. And I was like, but like, what is going on, right? And then you head on over to the other app on TikTok, and you see there's this one particular lady who's advertising debt review, guys. Yo, and she's talking about debt review and how it's the solution to all your debt problems. And then comes another guy sometime late last year who's like, are you in debt review by accident? You want to remove your name? And I'm like, what is going on here, right? But I mean, it doesn't take too much of an imagination to recognize that financially a lot of households are feeling the financial pinch, right? Everything is going up, everything is increasing in prices, but salaries have remained or are remaining the same, or not matching the rate at which things are going up. And so that definitely does create the discomfort of financial inability to keep up with debts, because just because your salary has remained the same doesn't mean your responsibilities also stay the same. They are kupuka. And so it doesn't take too much to understand the rise in people being unable to keep up with their debts. So what is debt review? Debt review is actually a legal process that is governed by the National Credit Act, right? And it is there to offer relief to people who are unable to keep up with their financial, with their debts, basically, right? And so what would usually happen is you would approach a debt review counselor, and you would inform them that, listen, I'm not able to keep up with my debts. And in terms of the prescribed legislation, the debt review council is going to do their due diligence and observe, your income versus your expenditures, and then give advisements, the nod, or the not nod, to say that no, you're not able to keep up with your debts, or yes, you are actually able to keep up with your debts, right? They also take into consideration the propensity at which you're not able to keep up with your debts, because sometimes you can keep up and the next month you're not able to keep up. And so those things are also a telltale of your ability to keep up with your debts, and also contribute to whether or not you'll be allowed to enter into a debt review process. It is very much a technical process, and the debt review counselor is an accredited person who contacts your creditors to inform them that, hey, in terms of section what this person is entering into a has, has made application to enter into debt review. Therefore, we need to make rearrangements on the payments to their debts. This is what we are suggesting. Do you concede? Do you agree with this? And the creditor can say yay or nay, and then the matter is referred to court or a tribunal where it is decided. It's a long process. The long and the short of what I'm saying to you is that debt review is a technical process, all right? But the face that is given to you, the consumer, is basically the pros and the cons that are attached to debt review. And that is also what I want to inform you about, okay? So, what are the consequences of entering into debt review? Okay? First of all, institutions and institutions are actually legislated to inform your payment patterns to the credit bureau, right? So your behavior when it comes to the debt that you have, whether it's a cell phone contract, whether it's a laptop contract, it's a credit card, it's a home loan, the institution takes the information of your behavior, your payment patterns, the way you miss patterns and whatnot, and they report to the credit bureau, okay? And that's how pretty much your credit score is also kind of created. Credit score is basically a report of how well you deal with your credits. Okay. And so all of these institutions send this information to the credit bureau, and that's how you have your credit score. And that's how they'll say, well, your credit score is quite poor. Either you don't have enough credit, so we don't know how you deal with credit, or you have too much credit and you're not keeping up, therefore you're a high risk, right? And so your debt review counselor approaches your creditors and informs them that you've entered into this process and tries to now arrange payments with them, okay? Now, it is the discretion of the creditor to agree or disagree with the payment arrangement that your debt review counselor proposes. But those are like your intricacies that are behind. Now, I want to deal with one particular thing that I've seen being advertised, which is the fact that people have said that when you enter into debt review, it like reduces your credit. So some parts of your credits are written off, okay? It doesn't necessarily happen like that, okay? Uh, one of the ways in which, yes, part of your debt may be written off is if your counselor approaches the creditor and the creditor says, okay, I'll give this person like a 10% discount. And so they'll effectively be writing off 10% of your credit. And that's how maybe you end up, maybe if you had a debt of like 100,000, now you're paying 90 instead of 100,000. But that's still very much the discretion of the creditor, right? And now there are other things that are more technical concerning reckless lending and whatnot that I'm not going to go into in this episode, because I am not a financial advisor, all right? So I'm not gonna go into that. But yes, that sometimes it does happen that your credit can be reduced and therefore you're paying a lesser amount when you enter into debt review, but that's not always guaranteed, right? But first con is that your credit score is negatively affected because at the credit bureau, it is flagged that you are under debt review. You had so much debt that you were not able to keep up and you had to go through this process. And what that means is you will not be able to access any more credit. But I think it extends a little bit beyond credit, because I don't know if you've realized these days, but even when you sign a lease agreement, your landlords are looking at your credit score. to tell whether or not you'll be able to keep up with rent. So it might actually even inhibit your ability to move where you want to move when you have a bad credit record, right? Um, and also, you can't get into contracts, obviously, any further contracts like a cell phone contract or a credit facility at the bank. You will definitely be inhibited from being able to borrow or obtain more credit from institutions, right? And lastly, one thing that they don't tell you is that when you miss your payments in terms of the debt review process, that has a really terrible repercussion in the sense that your creditor, because you've dishonored that repayment arrangement, your creditor can now come back full force, after with the force of the law and legal institutions to recover their debts. So one thing you must definitely keep in mind when you are under debt review, please make sure that your debts are being handled, okay? And really, this brings me to the last consequence that I've witnessed, because of the rise of credit debt review service providers, there's also been a rise in scammers. So someone is in desperate need of relief, and you find yourself falling into the unfortunate situation where you're being scammed. And these people are like taking money from your account because it's like a debit order. It's like one big debit order that comes out to go pay all your creditors, but it comes out to the debt review people, and only to find that you've been duped, and it's just compounding the issues that you have. And so when you are entering into debt review, please make sure that you vet your service provider, that you make sure you do thorough research on their existence, on their offices, so that you don't fall victim to many people, to having been scammed under the guise of entering into debt review, okay? And that takes me to another thing, which is leading to the contention that I've seen happen on TikTok. um Debt review services are not for free, and so there is a fee that they receive for every person they sign. And that's why they are more, because it's becoming a lucrative kind of thing. And so just be careful of that. Nothing is for free. And so some of them will lie to you, some of them will not do their due diligence. Maybe you don't have to be under debt review, but for the sake of the pretty penny that I'll get, they'll put you under debt review. And sometimes they don't tell you the truth about what debt review is. Some people don't realize that it actually affects your credit score, and you need your credit score. And so while you're in the middle of that trying to do something, you realize, oh no, wait, I got myself in something I don't understand. And I've seen that happen as well. That's why this video is very important, for you to know what you're dealing with when you enter into debt review. And also, it is not a free service. So in the creditors, you must add the debt review people, because they are also recovering monies for the services that they are providing to you. So just bear that in mind as well when you speak to one over the phone. They are not helping you, they are getting something from it as well, right? But what are the pros, right? How does debt review assist you? Definitely, debt review assists you in the sense that, first of all, debt review can take anything between 60 to 72 months. So that's about 5 to 6 years, right? And so we're breaking up your debts over a longer period of time. And so that offers that financial relief of, not having to pay multiple creditors with multiple interest rates that are probably really high. Your debt review counselor can enter into arrangements with lower interest rates, They are professionals, they do what they do. Sometimes they can do that, but that's also still at the discretion of the creditor. If the creditor does not want to significantly reduce the interest rate, you'll find yourself paying for a longer period of time, and therefore making your debt actually a lot more than it was. So that's something to keep in mind, but it's definitely an immediate financial relief, right? And another thing that debt review assists you with is that it aids at ending the possibility of repossession, and your creditors constantly calling you, because now you would have come into an arrangement with them, right? And also, usually, like I already mentioned, your debt review counselor would have negotiated favorable interest rates. So, those are the pros, definitely. And if you feel that debt review is still the way to go for you, I'm really happy about that. And what I'm more happy about is the fact that you are well informed on this decision that you are making. Because at the end of the day, it is a process that is there to alleviate the financial strain that people are finding themselves under. So, no, I don't hate debt review, but I really want you to be educated concerning the process. All right. But now we're going to go into debt review alternatives. Okay. So, there's debt review and there's debt consolidation. At some point in my life, I thought they were one thing, but they are not one thing. They are different things. Debt review is the process that I have described. Debt consolidation is actually a loan. It's like a loan that you take out to pay off your other debts. Okay. So, one thing to bear in mind about debt consolidation, in all likelihood, you probably get it from your financial institutions like your banks, right? But the interest at which you receive this loan will be affected by your credit score. So, if you already have a really bad credit score, then your interest is going to be high, and your monthly installments are also just going to be high. So sometimes consolidation is not really a great answer, but sometimes it is. It's a great relief to close all those accounts that you have and just deal with one loan that you're paying off for whatever period you've agreed with your financial advisor. All right? Now, what is the alternative to debt review, debt consolidation? My humble opinion is sometimes it's really great to just pick up the phone and call your creditor and inform them that you are unable to keep up with your debts. And usually, especially when we're speaking about financial institutions like the bank, I've had instances where, when negotiating on behalf of a client with the bank for areas in a certain debt, they've given up to 40% discount. Yeah, 40% discount. Just think about it. So if the person was owing like 100,000, the bank was like, okay, cool, pay 60 over a period of 6 months, 6 7 months. And I've seen that actually happen. So picking up the phone to call actually works. And sometimes, if you don't have the courage to do that, you know, contacting your attorney or your legal advisor to try to set up those discussions actually yields, you know, and I've seen that work for myself as well. So, now what happens if you actually don't deal with these debts? And what are the recourses that are available to creditors? All right. So I think a lot of us are already well versed in letters of demand. So the first point of departure that your creditor is going to take is issuing you the letter of demand to tell you that you are in debt, you are overdue, and we want our money. Contact us or pay us in 14 days, right? After the letter of demand, the creditor can now issue summons in the relevant court related to your jurisdiction and the amount that is outstanding, either magistrate court or high court. After issuing summons, I've seen how people ignore summons. And summons don't go away. They do not go away. And so after ignoring summons, what the creditor does is they go back to the court via an application and they say, well, we have issued summons to this person and this person is willfully ignoring the summons. Please give us a default judgment, right? And the judge or the magistrate will say, all right, giving you default judgment. And what does the creditor do? Creditor goes to the sheriff's office and say, hey, I have an order enforcing this 200,000 that so owes me. Please go to their house and attach their properties, their they're movable, or in some instances movable properties. And then you have the sheriff coming, knocking at your door and saying, hi, how much is this TV? Okay. And then your assets can actually be attached and sold in order to appease the debt that you owe the creditor. We don't want that, so we definitely don't ignore summons. All right, so what are my takeaway tips for handling debt and debt situation, or rather handling creditors? Okay, the first is, please communicate in advance. Communicate your inability to pay, communicate the need or the desire to restructure your payment on the debt, right? The second is enter into an arrangement with them, if possible, if they are indulging you. The third is do not ignore letters of demand. They actually mean something. And the fourth is do not ignore summons. Do not ignore summons, please. All right. And the fifth one is do not ignore or run away from the sheriff. And if you find yourself already at the fifth stage and you're wondering, what should I do? One, definitely call your lawyer. And two, you can still pick up the phone and call your creditor and try to make arrangements. Most of the times, creditors, they just want their money. They are not interested in the drama. They just want their money. So please do make sure you pick up the phone and you call. And if really you're not in that position to do that, contact your lawyer. All right. Where am I? Number 6. Keep a paper trail. This is a golden cardinal rule I live by. Please keep a paper trail. And what do I mean about that? Every time you call the bank, make sure you keep track of who you spoke to, name and surname, call reference number, date and time of the call. After that, if you can, reduce it into email to say, well, thank you, I spoke to so and they said this, right? And we came to this arrangement. Paper trails will save your life. So please always make sure you keep track of the communications that you make with the creditors. They might be your best defense if ever you find yourself in court. Friends and family, that is the end of our debt review episode. I know that there's tons of information that is still somewhere there in between. So please do drop me a comment, with your opinion. If you're a financial advisor and you have extra tips, please drop them in the comments or DM me. I'm so happy you've come to the end of this episode with me, and I do hope that you've taken away a few things that will be useful for you in your day to day. From me until our next episode, thank you so much for joining. I hope you have subscribed and I hope you do share this with more friends and family. See you in the next episode.